The stars above Earth had always seemed distant and quiet, but now they were watching, not with the curious eyes of distant observers, but with the sharp, assessing gaze of warriors. They came from a society so far removed from Earth that the planet looked like a small, fragile toy in their maps. They were powerful, confident, and certain of their superiority. To them, humans were amusing creatures, barely evolved, soft in body and mind, and far too emotional for the demands of the galaxy. At the Council in their massive space station, the elite female commanders of the warrior society laughed openly. Their voices were deep and echoing, a sound that carried authority and disdain. Earth, one of them said, a streak of silver hair flowing past her shoulders as she leaned over the holographic projection of the planet. Pathetic! How can any creature survive with bones that weak and hearts that tremble at every sound? They were called the Scifi, a civilization that had conquered thousands of worlds and had never faced true opposition. For them, war was simple: strength, speed, and a will to dominate. Strategy was secondary because none of the species they had met had ever challenged them. Yet curiosity lingered. The humans had made a small attempt at communication, sending a vessel into space, waving at the stars in their naive, hopeful way. The Scifi found it amusing, almost insulting. They had discussed what to do, debated whether to destroy the human effort entirely or simply observe and mock it. Eventually, they agreed on a middle path: test Earth in a controlled way, one that would demonstrate the humans' weakness and allow the Scifi to laugh as expected. On Earth, nobody knew the true danger yet. Life continued as it always had, although whispers of approaching change were growing. Scientists had noticed unusual signals in the upper atmosphere, strange energy readings in orbit, and the occasional flicker of unidentified ships moving beyond the moon. Most dismissed it as a natural phenomenon or human error, but a few, the quiet watchers in secret agencies and observatories, felt the weight of something more. In New York, a man named Aaron Kells looked up at the night sky from the rooftop of his apartment. He had spent years working with satellites and had seen many things others could not. Tonight, the stars felt heavier. There was a pulse in the distance, something almost imperceptible but undeniably foreign. "They're coming," he whispered to himself. Across the Atlantic, in a quiet village in Africa, a young girl named Leela noticed the sky shifting. Her grandfather had taught her to read the stars, to see the subtle differences between constellations. Tonight, they moved strangely, like threads pulled by a hand too strong to resist. She did not yet know who they were or why they had come, but the sense of urgency was clear. Back in the Scifi Council, the commanders were already making plans. "We shall not land all at once," said a tall warrior with armor that shimmered like molten metal. "Let us observe first. Let them show their strength, or rather their weakness." Her voice was calm, but every syllable carried the promise of overwhelming force. A fleet of sleek ships emerged from hyperspace near Earth, their presence almost invisible to human sensors at first. They moved with precision, elegant lines cutting through space, reflecting starlight like shards of ice. To the Scifi, it was perfection. To humans, it would be terrifying. The first ship descended near the Pacific Ocean, hovering silently above the waves. Those on Earth who saw it initially thought it was a natural phenomenon, a rare aurora reflected across the water. But when the ship opened a small bay and a few scouts stepped out, the truth became impossible to ignore. These beings were tall, their forms both beautiful and deadly. Their eyes glinted with intelligence, their movements fluid and deliberate. In Washington, alarms rang in secret government bunkers. Analysts ran simulations frantically, trying to calculate what the human response should be. They had plans for many disasters, natural, political, even nuclear, but nothing in history had prepared them for this. Soldiers were mobilized, fleets sent to intercept, but every action felt slow compared to the efficiency of the Scifi. The alien warriors did not speak initially. They observed, moving in synchronized patterns, their movements precise and almost musical in rhythm. To the humans who watched from afar, their arrival was mesmerizing. But to the Scifi, the humans' initial hesitation was confirmation of their expectations. "See," one commander said to another, her tone dripping with amusement. "They fear us." Soft, weak creatures. Soon, the galaxy will know Earth as nothing more than a minor curiosity. The Scifi noticed these anomalies but dismissed them as coincidence or luck. Humans had no strategy, they believed only instinct. Aaron Kells was among those observing the alien presence in secret. He watched the patrols, noting their routines, their speeds, their weapon ranges. He sketched the data, not knowing whether it would save lives or simply provide knowledge for historians. Every movement the Scifi made was catalogued, measured, and predicted. For the first time, he felt that humanity's survival depended not on strength but on understanding. Meanwhile, across the world, Leela helped her village prepare. She instructed them to remain calm, to observe the skies, and to protect one another. No one believed her at first, but her quiet confidence spread. Humans, she realized, could be united not by fear, but by purpose. The Scifi decided to make a small demonstration of power. One of their patrols fired a beam into an uninhabited desert, melting rock and sand instantly. Humans watched in awe and fear. Media across the globe broadcasted the event, interpreting it as a natural disaster at first. Governments scrambled, but no one could find a solution. The Scifi were fast, precise, and untouchable. In a hidden underground lab in Japan, a scientist named Dr. Kara Matsuo calculated the energy requirements of the alien weapon. "It's not impossible," she said to her team, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "If we learn their patterns, we can predict their next move. We can survive, we must survive." The Scifi mocked these efforts, calling them amateurish and sentimental, but the humans continued. In orbit, the alien commanders watched, confused by the subtle resistance. "Why do they not flee entirely?" one asked. "Why do they not surrender?" "Perhaps they have, something we do not understand." The Scifi had not faced creatures like this before, ones who could absorb shock, study it, and return stronger in ways that did not rely solely on brute force. As dawn broke over cities, mountains, and oceans, the humans were already preparing for the next day. They had no illusions of defeating the Scifi outright. They only sought to endure, to observe, and to find the gaps in an enemy that had never lost. On the Scifi ships, the commanders shared a rare moment of hesitation. "Perhaps we underestimated them," one said quietly. Her tone was uncharacteristic, almost cautious. "They are not like the worlds we have conquered before." Even as doubt crept in, their pride demanded dominance. They would continue to mock, to test, and to belittle. They did not yet realize that this underestimation would be the first step toward a lesson that would shake their society. On Earth, hope was quiet, small, and unremarkable to the rest of the galaxy, but it grew in the hearts of those who watched, who studied, and who prepared. They were fragile, yes, but they were also resilient, adaptive, and united in ways the galaxy had not anticipated. The stars above seemed to shine a little differently that morning, not with warning, but with a sense that history was about to change. And deep in their ships, the Scifi continued to watch, still laughing, still confident, unaware that their mockery had found an opponent the likes of which they had never seen, the sons of Earth. The day ended without a battle, but with the quiet tension of preparation and observation. Humans returned to their homes, their labs, and their secret bases. The alien warriors returned to their ships, their pride unshaken, but their certainty beginning to crack. Somewhere in the small villages, the cities, and the mountains, humanity held its breath and waited. They had been laughed at, underestimated, and dismissed. But the first seeds of resistance were growing, quietly, carefully, and with a determination that no mockery could extinguish. By the time night fell again, both sides were preparing for the days ahead. The Scifi were confident, armed with strength and experience. The humans were cautious, armed with ingenuity, courage, and the stubborn will to survive. One would laugh, the other would learn, but the story of Earth was just beginning. And somewhere, high above the clouds, Aaron looked at the stars, Leela watched the skies, and Dr. Matsuo checked her calculations. They did not know what the future held, only that they would not bow. The sons of Earth were awake, and the galaxy had yet to see what that truly meant. The alien ships hung in orbit, like massive shadows against the blue and green of Earth. From above, they looked unbeatable, perfect in form, and deadly in function. On the ground, humans moved cautiously, aware that each step could draw attention from beings who were far stronger and faster than anything they had ever faced. Yet for all their fear, a quiet determination spread among them. Earth's people had never been trained to fight creatures like the Scifi, but they had something no alien army had ever faced: adaptability. Aaron Kells watched the patrols from a hidden observation post on the edge of a forest in Canada. Using telescopes, satellites, and homemade sensors, he tracked every move of the alien scouts. Their patterns were methodical, almost predictable, yet there was no way to match them in direct strength. Humans could not hope to meet the Scifi in an open fight. Aaron understood that the solution would not be combat in the conventional sense. It would be strategy, patience, and understanding. He was not alone. Across continents, other humans worked quietly, gathering information, sharing data, and preparing their defenses. In Tokyo, Dr. Kara Matsuo and her team of engineers converted everyday machines into tools of resistance. A simple farming drone became a scout. Construction equipment turned into barricades and mobile traps. Every resource, every tool, every person was part of a system that no alien could fully predict. Meanwhile, in Africa, Leela moved through the forests near her village. She instructed her people to remain hidden, to observe, and to help the children and elderly. Yet she did not merely hide. They set small markers, traps, and warning systems that could alert others if the Sylthari advanced into their area. It was not about fighting directly. It was about surviving and learning. The first encounter came suddenly. A group of Sylthari scouts landed near a river, sleek forms glinting in the morning sun. They expected humans to scatter or plead for mercy, as they had assumed all other species did. Instead, the humans moved carefully, using the trees and rocks as cover, keeping out of direct sight. Small signals flashed between them, coordinating silently. One human, armed only with a rifle, led the scouts toward a shallow gorge. Aaron watched, heart pounding. "They're using the terrain," he whispered. "They're making them walk into a trap." They were faster, stronger, and far more durable than any human, yet the humans were not attacking directly. They were manipulating the battlefield. The Sylthari commander in the field, a tall woman named Tharisa, looked around in confusion. Her voice, calm but sharp, carried to her squad. "Do you see this?" she asked. "They are not running, not hiding. They are choosing when and where to act. This is strange, inefficient but persistent." Small groups intercepted alien patrols near abandoned towns. They did not attack directly but created diversions, set up tripwires, and used noise to mislead the aliens. A convoy of Sylthari scouts chasing what seemed like a fleeing human stumbled into a narrow canyon, where hidden teams used gravity and debris to slow them down. The aliens were fast, but they were not invincible against ingenuity. Back in orbit, the Sylthari Council observed the results through real-time communication channels. They were baffled. "This is inefficient," one commander said. "Why do they not attack with full force? Why do they not surrender?" "They watch, they adapt, they do not panic. Perhaps they have endurance we do not understand." From hidden positions, humans released electromagnetic pulses that disrupted alien sensors. Vehicles stalled, communications flickered, and the squad suddenly found itself unable to coordinate efficiently. Dr. Matsuo watched as her calculations came to life. "It works," she said to her team. "We can disrupt their technology temporarily. Every second counts." Their superior equipment was temporarily neutralized, and they realized that brute strength alone would not solve every problem. Aaron and Leela coordinated small squads in different regions, using simple tools and environmental knowledge to create obstacles and slow the alien advance. Humans did not seek victory in each skirmish. They sought to learn, to survive, and to frustrate. A patrol near the European mountains encountered another unique human tactic. A small team created a decoy path through a valley, leading the aliens into a network of caves rigged with non-lethal deterrents: rocks, falling debris, and smoke. The aliens had strength and speed, but they were not prepared for the way humans could use geography itself as a weapon. Tharisa communicated with the other commanders. "Their minds are different. They do not fear death in the same way we do. They are not reckless, yet they do not surrender. Observe their persistence. It is unlike anything we have faced." Small children were evacuated to hidden shelters, while adults and older teens moved through forests and abandoned buildings, setting signals and markers that could warn others of alien movements. Farmers, engineers, and teachers all became part of a growing network of resistance. Each human action was calculated to maximize survival and minimize confrontation. The Sylthari attempted to capture a small town in South America, expecting compliance or at least submission. Instead, they found themselves delayed by barricades, tunnels, and hidden paths. Humans redirected rivers, used fog, and even manipulated the wind with simple devices to reduce visibility. Every time the aliens advanced, they were met with a new, unpredictable obstacle. At night, humans gathered quietly to review what they had learned. "They are fast, they are strong, but they do not understand us," Aaron said, pointing to the maps showing alien patrol routes. "If we keep observing, we can anticipate their next moves. Strength alone will not save them. Knowledge will save us. For the first time, a small seed of doubt appeared among the Scifi. Perhaps our pride has blinded us, Tharissa said quietly to her second-in-command. These humans, they are persistent, clever, and adaptive. I do not yet understand how they survive, but I see now that strength alone may not win this war. Mistakes were noted, patterns were observed, and tactics were refined. A sense of quiet pride began to grow among them. They were ordinary people facing extraordinary enemies, and yet they were not defeated. In North America, a small human team successfully diverted an alien patrol away from a populated city using noise, mirrors, and smoke. In Europe, a village used simple farming equipment to block alien vehicles and funnel them into traps. In Asia, scientists temporarily disabled alien drones with electromagnetic pulses. Every small action added to a growing pattern of resistance. The Scifi began to notice a common theme. Humans were not just reacting, they were predicting, adapting, and using every resource at their disposal. Their strategies were not perfect, but they were unpredictable, and unpredictability was dangerous to a species that relied on confidence and speed. Back on Earth, the leaders of these quiet human operations began to see a new reality. They were not fighting to destroy the Scifi, they had no hope of doing so. Instead, they fought to survive, to learn, and to protect the people who could not fight for themselves. Every victory was small, almost invisible to the outside world, but each success built confidence. Humans learned that persistence could frustrate even the most powerful enemy. By the end of the second day, the Scifi were still confident, but the cracks in their certainty had begun to show. Their scouts returned with reports of humans who did not flee, humans who used terrain, humans who created obstacles and adapted instantly. The warrior society had never seen resistance like this, and it made some commanders uneasy. Tharissa gazed at the reports with a thoughtful expression. "They are not strong like us," she said, "but they do not yield." Strength is obvious, but resilience is something else. Perhaps these humans have it in ways we cannot measure. The planet's sons and daughters, ordinary yet extraordinary in their persistence, were beginning to show the galaxy that they could survive against impossible odds. By the time night fell again, the humans had learned more than the Scifi expected. Every village, town, and hidden camp had a story of survival, a strategy that had slowed the aliens, a lesson that would shape the battles to come. For the first time, the Scifi felt that they might have underestimated a species not for weakness, but for the quiet power of determination, intelligence, and courage. The battle was not over. The Scifi were stronger, faster, and more experienced. Yet humans had something the aliens had not counted on: resilience. They were learners, adapters, and survivors. They did not seek to destroy, they sought to endure. And in the quiet, invisible victories, Earth's sons began to awaken to the fact that their planet might not only survive, it might shock the galaxy in ways no one had imagined. The night sky above Earth was still filled with alien ships, their shadows cast across oceans, forests, and deserts. But beneath those shadows, humans moved with purpose, carefully, silently, and intelligently. They were small, fragile in body perhaps, but unyielding in will. And as the stars watched, a quiet truth began to form. Humanity was not what the Scifi had expected, and the galaxy would soon learn that underestimating Earth came with a cost no one could predict. The sun rose over the mountains, deserts, and oceans of Earth, painting the world in gold and crimson. For the first time, the human defenders felt a spark of confidence. The Scifi had arrived expecting easy victory, yet each passing day revealed the resilience, intelligence, and courage of Earth's sons and daughters. From small villages to sprawling cities, humans were no longer merely surviving. They were learning, adapting, and beginning to fight back in subtle, clever ways. Aaron Kells coordinated a network of observers and scouts in North America. Using satellites, drones, and makeshift sensors, he tracked alien patrols across forests and plains. The humans did not aim to destroy the Scifi, this was impossible, but to frustrate, confuse, and delay them. Each small action built experience, and each small success inspired confidence. Today, a squad of human fighters prepared an ambush in a canyon along the Rocky Mountains. The team was small, less than a dozen, but they had studied the aliens' movements for hours. Using rope, mirrors, rocks, and smoke bombs, they created a series of obstacles and diversions. The goal was not to kill the aliens, but to slow them, confuse them, and force them to expend energy unnecessarily. Aaron adjusted his telescope and watched the patrol approach. "Remember, he reminded the team over the comms. Don't engage directly. Make them move, make them think, make them stumble. We survive by patience and cunning, not strength. Tharissa, their field commander, was in the lead, her eyes scanning for threats, though she expected none of significance. The first trap worked perfectly. Smoke clouds rose from concealed positions, hiding humans while signaling the next phase. Rocks rolled down narrow paths, forcing the Silthari to dodge and leap with astonishing speed. Mirrors reflected sunlight into their eyes, momentarily disorienting them. Each obstacle was small, almost inconsequential on its own, but together they slowed the alien advance. From a hidden perch, Aaron watched the patrol stumble. "It's working," he whispered. "They're starting to hesitate." Heavy logs released from hidden ropes fell in strategic patterns, forcing the Silthari to leap or dodge at precise moments. None were seriously injured, but each action required energy and focus. What was supposed to be a simple patrol now felt unpredictable and dangerous. Tharissa's voice cut through the chaos, calm but sharp. "Do not underestimate them," she warned. "Their strength may be small, but their minds are unusual. Proceed with caution." One young man, barely 18, adjusted a mirror to redirect sunlight into the eyes of a Silthari scout who was trying to flank the team. The scout hissed in frustration, a sound that made the humans suppress their smiles. Across the globe, similar events unfolded. In Europe, a village used its knowledge of local caves and tunnels to divert an alien patrol away from a small town. In Africa, Leela and her group created signals to alert nearby settlements of alien movements, preventing unnecessary encounters while gaining valuable information. Dr. Kara Matsuo's lab in Tokyo became a hub for coordination. Engineers, scientists, and volunteers monitored alien activity and shared findings across continents. Simple devices became tools of resistance, drones converted to early warning systems, vehicles repurposed as barriers, and electromagnetic pulses disrupted alien sensors in key areas. Every small advantage counted. By the third day, humans began to understand patterns in the Silthari movements. They observed the aliens' reliance on speed and strength, their expectations of human fear, and their assumptions about intelligence. Using this knowledge, humans could predict patrol routes, set traps, and coordinate multiple teams for maximum effect. One human operation in the Amazon rainforest exemplified the growing ingenuity. A group of indigenous fighters, armed with simple weapons and intimate knowledge of the forest, created a series of decoys and sound diversions. Alien patrols chasing what seemed to be fleeing humans were led into areas dense with vines and undergrowth, slowing their movement. By the time the aliens realized the mistake, the humans were already gone, leaving the patrol exhausted and frustrated. The Silthari commanders began to notice a pattern that disturbed them. "They are not weak," Tharissa said to her council in orbit. "They are not reckless. They adapt, they learn, and they endure. Their strength is in persistence, not brute force. This is unexpected. Every day we advance less than we should. They are not strong, but they are clever." Every observation, every minor victory was carefully noted, creating a growing network of knowledge that would guide future actions. In North America, Aaron watched the Canyon Patrol retreat, breathing heavily but unharmed. The humans had achieved their goal. The aliens were slowed, their confidence slightly shaken, and their focus disrupted. These were small victories, yet they were significant. Humans began to see that survival was possible, and with survival came hope. Meanwhile, the Silthari were beginning to struggle with their assumptions. Every world they had conquered fell quickly, dominated by strength and fear. Humans, however, refused to submit. They used strategy, patience, and ingenuity to resist in ways the aliens did not understand. The warrior society's pride was shaken. Leela led a small human team to a high ridge overlooking a valley. Through a telescope, she observed a patrol of Silthari below. "We know their patterns now," she said quietly to her team. "They expect us to panic, to flee. We won't. We will move carefully, adapt, and survive." Matsuo monitored the electronic signals of alien drones, finding ways to disable them temporarily. "Every second counts," she said to her team. "We do not need to destroy them. We only need to survive, learn, and prepare for the next step." The Silthari had underestimated them, and that mistake was becoming clear. Humans were learners, thinkers, and adapters. They did not match alien strength, but they matched it in persistence, creativity, and resilience. Tharissa reviewed reports from all patrols. "They are not like any species we have faced," she said quietly. They are weak, yes, but their persistence, it is unusual. They endure what we expected would break them. They adapt what we assumed could not change. Perhaps we misjudged them entirely. Each day, humans learned, improved, and forced the aliens to rethink their assumptions. By the end of the day, a sense of quiet pride spread among the human networks. Ordinary people, farmers, engineers, scientists, students, had learned to coordinate, communicate, and survive. Each successful trap, diversion, and minor victory strengthened their confidence. They were no longer victims of circumstance. They were participants in a growing strategy that combined observation, patience, and ingenuity. As night fell across continents, the Scifi ships hung in the sky like looming shadows. Their commanders met in orbit, reviewing reports and trying to understand a species that refused to bow. Perhaps they are the most unusual species in the galaxy, Tharisa said. Not because they are strong, but because they endure, adapt, and fight differently than anything we know. The Scifi had strength, speed, and experience, but humans had something far more subtle and enduring: resilience, intelligence, and the will to survive. Above the forests, mountains, and cities, the stars twinkled, indifferent to the struggles below. Yet something had shifted. The humans, underestimated and dismissed, were learning quickly. They were no longer merely reacting. They were predicting, adapting, and controlling small aspects of the battle. The sons of Earth were beginning to awaken, and the Scifi, for the first time, began to feel uncertainty. Their pride had blinded them to the quiet strength of humanity. They had mocked Earth, expecting weakness, but instead they found persistence, ingenuity, and courage. A lesson was forming, one that would reshape their understanding of this small, blue planet. The night ended with both sides preparing. Humans adapted, learned, and observed. The Scifi strategized, adjusted, and watched. The first small victories for humanity had been achieved, not through strength, but through intelligence, endurance, and patience. The story of Earth was no longer one of submission. It was one of survival, resilience, and the quiet, powerful rise of the sons and daughters of a planet that the galaxy had underestimated. The battles ahead would be harder, the stakes higher, but the humans had learned a vital truth. They could endure, adapt, and fight in ways no one expected. And somewhere in the dark of space, Tharisa and her commanders understood that the mockery they had carried from the stars was fading. The humans were no longer prey. They were students of the battlefield, and their lessons were only beginning. The alien ships had dominated the skies for days, yet the humans had begun to push back in ways the Scifi did not expect. It was no longer a matter of survival alone. The sons and daughters of Earth were learning to take the fight to the invaders, using intelligence, patience, and creativity to turn every encounter into an opportunity. Aaron Kells stood on a cliff overlooking a valley in Canada, scanning the horizon with his telescope. Below, a squad of Scifi soldiers moved with their usual confidence, expecting to encounter scattered, terrified humans. Instead, the valley was filled with traps, false paths, and cleverly concealed observation posts. Today, Aaron whispered into his comms, we teach them a lesson they won't forget. They had begun to dictate the terms of engagement. In Europe, Leela and her team prepared an ambush in the ruins of an abandoned town. They had observed alien patrol patterns for days. Using rooftops, narrow alleys, and underground tunnels, they created a maze that forced the Scifi into unfamiliar terrain. Smoke bombs and small collapses blocked escape routes, while human scouts remained hidden, waiting to observe every move. The first contact came at sunrise. Scifi patrols moved with calculated speed, scanning the streets, confident that they would overwhelm whatever humans remained. But each step they took led them deeper into the maze. The humans did not attack directly. Instead, they used light, sound, and terrain to confuse and slow their opponents. The aliens leaped over fallen beams, dodged collapsing walls, and attempted to coordinate with each other, only to find the humans anticipating their every move. Aaron adjusted a signal mirror from his cliff, reflecting sunlight into the eyes of a scouting drone. It faltered, forcing the patrol below to pause. The humans moved silently, marking paths, observing reactions, and learning from every alien adjustment. Each delay, each minor disruption, added to the growing human advantage. Meanwhile, Dr. Kara Matsuo and her team in Tokyo activated a temporary electromagnetic field that disabled several alien drones. The field lasted only a few seconds, but it caused chaos in the ranks of the Scifi patrol. Humans moved into positions of advantage, observing the aliens' reactions, noting patterns and preparing the next phase of the operation. In Africa, Leela's team had blocked access to a key river crossing. The Sylthari assumed humans would flee, but instead they discovered hidden paths and diversionary traps. Rocks rolled unexpectedly, small devices created sudden noise, and thick vines fell across narrow passages. The aliens were forced to split their forces, slowing their advance while the humans stayed safely hidden. Tharissa and her fellow commanders watched the reports from orbit, their expressions tense. "They are no longer passive," Tharissa said. "They are anticipating us, predicting our moves, and using their world as a weapon. How clever, how persistent, how resilient." "They endure, adapt, and learn faster than we expected. Every time we advance, they adjust. They are dangerous in ways we did not foresee." They were not strong enough to overpower the warriors directly, but they could frustrate, delay, and exhaust them. As the Sylthari squad entered the valley, the humans triggered the first set of traps. Heavy logs fell from hidden ropes, forcing the aliens to leap and dodge in perfect synchronization. Smoke rose from concealed pits, hiding the movements of human scouts. Rocks and mirrors redirected sunlight into the eyes of alien drones, disrupting their sensors. Every step the Sylthari took required attention, energy, and calculation. The humans did not attack. They observed, recorded, and adapted. A single misstep could have been deadly, yet the aliens were caught off guard at every turn. Their confidence wavered as they realized that brute force alone could not ensure victory. Across the world, similar scenarios unfolded. In Asia, human engineers created diversions by redirecting water from small canals, flooding sections of roadways and forcing the aliens to detour. In South America, scouts used forests and caves to conceal their movements, striking at patrols only to vanish before the aliens could react. Every encounter was a lesson, teaching humans the limits of the alien strength and the gaps in their tactics. For the Sylthari, these encounters were frustrating. Their pride demanded dominance, yet their superiority did not guarantee success. Each failed patrol, each unexpected delay, forced them to reconsider assumptions. They had mocked humans for their supposed weakness, yet the humans were proving that persistence, intelligence, and adaptability could match, and sometimes surpass, strength. Tharissa reviewed the reports from her field commanders. "They endure," she said quietly. "They do not panic, they do not falter, and they learn from each encounter. They are small, yes, but their persistence is unnerving." Each minor victory was a step toward understanding the enemy, building confidence, and preparing for the next day. The human strategy was simple but effective: observe, adapt, and survive. Every trap, every diversion, and every small confrontation provided information. They did not seek glory or destruction, they sought knowledge and endurance, and in that endurance lay their power. In Europe, Leela and her team emerged from hiding after a successful ambush. The patrols had been delayed, disoriented, and divided. Humans had learned their patterns, adapted to their movements, and forced the aliens to expend energy needlessly. Leela smiled quietly. They had survived, and that survival was their strength. Doctor. Matsuo, monitoring communications across Asia, noted the growing frustration in the alien ranks. "They are beginning to understand," she said. "Our tactics work. Every day we learn more. Every day we gain advantage." For the first time, the warrior women felt uncertainty in the presence of humans. They were strong, yes, but the humans' ability to adapt and endure was beyond anything they had predicted. Aaron coordinated one final maneuver for the day. Using hidden signals, he guided a small group of humans to create a diversion that split the alien squad in two. One half pursued the decoy, while the other remained trapped in a narrow pass filled with obstacles. The humans observed from a distance, noting every reaction, every movement, and every mistake. The Sylthari struggled to regroup. Strength alone could not overcome clever planning and adaptability. Every movement required calculation, and each mistake had consequences. The humans had learned that survival depended on observation, creativity, and patience, and each small success reinforced that lesson. By evening, the humans had achieved something remarkable. They had not defeated the Sylthari in battle, but they had forced them to slow, adapt, and reconsider. Confidence had been replaced with caution, arrogance with doubt. The alien commanders met in orbit, their expressions somber. "They are no longer what we expected," Tharissa admitted. "They are resilient, clever, and persistent. They endure in ways we cannot measure. Perhaps our mockery was misplaced. Every day, they grow stronger in ways that do not rely on force." Their confidence grew not from pride, but from the knowledge that they could endure, adapt, and fight in their own way. As night fell across continents, humans gathered in small groups, sharing observations and strategies. They planned, communicated, and adapted. They were ordinary people facing extraordinary enemies, yet they were learning to turn each encounter into an advantage. The Scifi, once confident and mocking, were now cautious and uncertain. They had underestimated a species that relied on resilience, intelligence, and determination. They had expected easy victories, but humans had forced them to learn, adapt, and hesitate. On Earth, the sons and daughters of the planet had proven something vital. Survival required more than strength. It required observation, patience, creativity, and courage. Each small victory, each minor disruption, each lesson learned built a foundation for the battles to come. And somewhere in orbit, Tharissa and her commanders began to reconsider their assumptions. The humans were not weak, nor were they foolish. They were small, yes, but they endured, adapted, and resisted in ways the galaxy had not seen before. Pride, it seemed, could be shattered not just by force, but by patience, cunning, and resilience. The night ended with both sides preparing for the next day. Humans learned, adapted, and planned. The Scifi observed, reconsidered, and adjusted. Earth's suns had begun to rise, quietly but powerfully, proving that even against the strongest warriors in the galaxy, determination and intelligence could change the course of battle. The story of Earth was no longer one of fear and mockery. It was a story of survival, ingenuity, and the growing power of a species underestimated by the stars. And as the alien commanders looked down on the planet, they began to understand that the mockery they had carried across the galaxy was fading. The sons of Earth were awake, and the world would never be the same. The morning light spilled across Earth like liquid gold, illuminating cities, forests, deserts, and mountains. The alien ships hovered above, their shadows stretching across the land, a reminder of the threat that had challenged humanity for days. Yet this morning felt different. The humans were no longer hiding, reacting, or merely surviving. They had learned, adapted, and grown stronger with each encounter. Today, they would show the Scifi that Earth's sons were not to be underestimated. Aaron Kell stood atop a rocky ridge, scanning the horizon. Below, teams of humans moved with quiet purpose, coordinating signals, preparing traps, and taking positions in key locations. For weeks, they had learned the aliens' movements, studied their habits, and practiced strategies designed to frustrate and confuse them. Now it was time to combine everything they had learned into one decisive demonstration of human resilience. In Europe, Leela led a coordinated effort to disrupt an alien supply convoy. Using narrow streets, hidden barricades, and improvised signals, her team created confusion among the patrols. Smoke, mirrors, and sudden obstacles forced the Scifi to slow, hesitate, and miscommunicate. Every trap was designed not to harm, but to delay and teach the humans more about the enemy's behavior. Across the Pacific, Dr. Kara Matsuo activated a network of devices that created electromagnetic pulses at key moments. Alien drones faltered, some falling from the sky as human engineers noted their vulnerabilities. Every success, no matter how small, built confidence among the humans. The world was alive with quiet resistance, each person contributing in ways the Scifi could not predict. The alien commanders had begun to understand that brute strength alone would not win the war. Tharissa studied reports with a thoughtful frown. They endure, she admitted to her council. They learn, they adapt. Each encounter teaches them something new. Perhaps we underestimated them. Aaron and his team had prepared a series of obstacles, diversions, and concealed observation posts throughout the valley. The Scifi patrols entered with confidence, expecting to crush what they still assumed were weak humans. Instead, they found themselves slowed, confused, and constantly observed. Humans guided the alien movements without being seen. Logs fell strategically, smoke drifted to obscure paths, and carefully placed mirrors reflected sunlight to distract and disorient. Every step the Scifi took required energy and focus. Their usual confidence was replaced with caution and tension. A young human scout adjusted a mirror to reflect sunlight into the eyes of a Scifi drone hovering above the valley. The drone's sensors faltered, forcing the patrol below to pause. The humans took note, observing reactions and adjusting their tactics instantly. The humans did not strike directly. They had learned that survival and observation were more powerful than confrontation. Each delay, each minor disruption, taught them more about the enemy's patterns, weaknesses, and reactions. By mid-morning, the alien patrols were exhausted, divided, and increasingly frustrated. In South America, a similar scenario unfolded. Small groups of humans used forests, caves, and river pathways to control the movement of alien patrols. They created diversions, redirected water to block passages, and used noise and light to confuse their opponents. Every action was deliberate, carefully measured, and non-lethal. The humans were not trying to destroy the Sylthari, they were teaching them that Earth's people were clever, persistent, and difficult to predict. Tharisa watched the unfolding reports from orbit, her expression tight with concern. "They are not like the species we have conquered before," she said. "They do not flee. They do not panic, they endure, adapt, and learn. Their strength is not in muscle, but in mind and will. We have underestimated them." Each minor victory in one place reinforced the efforts in another. Humans were no longer isolated, they were coordinated. Aaron guided a team to the valley's narrowest pass, where the final phase of the operation would unfold. Hidden signals directed humans to create diversions that would split the Sylthari forces into two groups. One group was led into a series of minor obstacles, while the other was trapped temporarily in a narrow canyon. The humans watched, recorded, and learned from every move. The Sylthari were forced to divide their strength, which was usually a source of confidence for them. Now, division meant vulnerability. Each patrol acted with caution, their arrogance replaced by uncertainty. They realized that humans were not only surviving, they were shaping the battlefield itself. By mid-afternoon, the humans had achieved what they had set out to do. Alien patrols were delayed, confused, and exhausted. Communication lines between groups of aliens faltered under the constant interruptions and diversions. For the first time, the Sylthari commanders were seriously concerned. "Perhaps we cannot rely on force alone," one commander said quietly. "They adapt faster than we can react. Each day they survive is another lesson for them." They had not destroyed the aliens, but they had survived and adapted. They had forced their enemies to pause, reconsider, and respect their ingenuity. For ordinary people, engineers, students, farmers, and teachers, this was the first time they felt truly capable against a foe they had once thought unbeatable. The final moment of the day came in Africa, where Leela's team orchestrated a carefully timed distraction. Alien patrols, focused on what they believed was a fleeing group, were led into terrain that slowed their progress. The humans used smoke, mirrors, and sound to control the battlefield, creating the illusion of strength far greater than reality. The aliens were trapped temporarily, disoriented, and forced to retreat. From orbit, the Sylthari observed these events in silence. Their confidence had eroded, replaced by hesitation and doubt. "We have mocked them," Tharisa admitted. "We have assumed weakness, we expected fear, but instead we have found endurance, intelligence, and courage. Perhaps Earth is not to be underestimated." Aaron and Leela met in a hidden observation post to review the day's events. "They are beginning to respect us," Aaron said quietly. "We have not defeated them, but we have forced them to see that we are not weak. Every day we grow stronger in ways they cannot measure." Matsuo added, "And every day we learn more about their technology, their tactics, and their weaknesses. Today they may feel superior, but tomorrow, we may surprise them even further." They had survived another day, learned more about the aliens, and forced their enemies to reconsider everything they had assumed about Earth's people. The Sons of Earth were no longer passive. They were active participants in the battle, shaping their own destiny. Above them, the Sylthari ships hovered, a symbol of pride challenged. The alien commanders convened in orbit, their voices quiet and cautious. "We cannot dominate them through force alone," Tharisa admitted. "They endure what should break them. They adapt to every tactic. We have underestimated them, and that mistake is costly." Instead, they found resilience, intelligence, and courage. They had assumed strength alone would ensure victory, yet humans had shown that survival, observation, and adaptation could level the field in unexpected ways. Across the world, humans reflected quietly on their accomplishments. They had survived alien patrols, learned patterns, and forced the invaders to hesitate. Confidence had grown, not from pride, but from the knowledge that persistence and intelligence could match even overwhelming power. The next day, the alien commanders convened again. This time, their decisions were measured, cautious, and respectful. They had learned that humans could endure, adapt, and survive in ways the galaxy had never expected. Mockery was replaced with respect and arrogance with hesitation. In secret, Aaron, Leela, and Dr. Matsuo observed the alien movements. "They see us differently now," Aaron said. "Our tactics, patience, and endurance have earned their respect. They know we are not to be underestimated. We fight not because we desire war, but because we protect our home. Strength can conquer, but courage and intelligence endure." Earth was no longer a target for easy conquest. It was a planet of resilient, clever, and determined people. The story of Earth spread quietly among the stars. Tales of a small blue planet where ordinary humans had endured, adapted, and resisted the greatest warriors in the galaxy became whispered stories of respect. The sons of Earth had shown that strength was not only measured in muscle and weaponry, but in courage, intelligence, and determination. And on Earth, life returned to a cautious normalcy. Humans rebuilt, observed, and prepared quietly for the future. The Silthari had left a lasting impression, not through destruction, but through the lesson that resilience and adaptation could overcome almost any obstacle. As night fell over the planet, Aaron, Leela, and Dr. Matsuo looked at the stars once more. They had survived, they had learned, and they had forced the galaxy to reconsider the underestimated species of Earth. The sons and daughters of the planet had awakened, and their story was only beginning. The stars shimmered above, indifferent to the struggles below, yet Earth's people had changed forever. They had endured, adapted, and survived. They had faced the strongest warriors the galaxy had ever known, and in doing so, they had proven that the quiet power of courage, intelligence, and persistence could triumph even against overwhelming odds. Earth would never again be mocked. The sons of the planet had risen, and the galaxy would remember.